Hey guys, welcome to Train Check YouTube channel. In this video, we'll be solving this CodeWars Kata 8 algorithm question, which is sum the string. So in this algorithm question, we'll be writing a function that takes two integers in form of a string. To be writing a function that takes two integers in form of a string as an input, and then the output, the sum too, as a string. So the input is integers, but the int is in form of string. So we will calculate the total, we will sum it up together and then still return it again as a string. Still return the sum as string. So we are summing up integers in form of string and then returning it back in form of string too. So that is what we'll be doing in this algorithm question, in this algorithm. So like as we all know, I'll be solving this algorithm question on Visual Studio so that we can debug and then see how it moves. So in one of the examples and instructions given to us, I want us to note some things. So anytime maybe string s1 and string s2 is empty, if it is empty here, we have to return 0. So we have to check if S1 is not null or is not empty and S2 is not empty. If they are empty, we have to return 0. But if one is empty and the other one is not empty, we will return the other one. But if the two are empty, we return 0. So now let's get started. I'll copy this now and take it to Visual Studio. So I'll be solving it inside Kata 8 class. So what we have to first do here is to first check, because we have to first check if s1 or s2 is not empty. So we have to use if statement now. Okay, before we do that, I will create an int result, where we will be doing all the addition. We'll be doing the addition of the two strings. So I'll create this int result where we'll be doing the addition of the two strings. Because to calculate anything in int or to add anything together, it must be in int. So we will be doing it, we'll be adding it in int and then converting it back to string. We'll be adding it as an integers, because we'll still convert to calculate these strings. We have to convert it to int, because even though it is int given in string format, so we have to convert it from that string back to int, do the calculations, and once we are done with the calculations, then we convert it back to string. So we convert it from from string to int. Once we are done doing the calculations, we convert it back from int to string back. So that is why I'll be creating int result to do the calculations. So now after that, I'll be checking if s1 is not equals to string dot empty, or s2 is not equals to string dot empty. So if the two are empty, it will jump this if statement and then come to this place and return 0 and return 0. Since the return type is string, so it will return 0. If s1 is not empty and s2 is not empty, it will continue. But once s1 and s2 are empty, it will jump this if statement and then return 0. So if s1 is empty but s2 is not empty, it will continue. If s2 is empty but s1 is not empty, it will continue. But if the two are empty at the same time, it will jump the if statement and return 0. So that is what I'm doing here. So after that, what else do we have to do? Okay, then we have to also check again, because now we've checked if the two are empty to return 0. Again, we will still have to check, because if we have to check if s1 is not empty or s2 is not empty, because we have a situation where s1 will be empty, s1 will not be empty and s2 will be empty, And if you are trying to convert an empty string to int, the code will break. The code will break because it won't see any value inside it. It is empty. We can't convert an empty string to int. So we have to still check again if what we are trying to convert is not empty. So that is what we'll be doing here now. Because you can have an instance where S1 will have something inside this one and S2 will be empty, or else to have something inside it and S1 will be empty. So you have to first check again if S1 S1 is equals string dot empty. Here, if it is equals to string, if S1 is empty, then S1 should now be equals to this, should be equals to 0. Int in form of string. So if it is empty now, let's just assume S1 is empty here now. Instead of it to be empty, we will replace it with 0. So whenever we are converting it from string to int, we will have a value to convert, so the code won't break. So S1, and then if S2 equals string dot empty, then S2 should be equals to this, should be equals to 0. So that is just what I'm doing. So if S1 is empty or S2 and this, what I'm doing here is still the same thing as, I can still do it like this, say this, still the same thing. Still the same thing. You can still say this. So depending on whatever thing you wish to use, you can choose to represent it with an empty string, this, or you use string dot empty, still the same thing. So if it is not empty, if it is empty, if S1 is empty, S1 should be equals to 0, int in form of string. And if S2 is empty, S2 should be equals to 0, int in form of string. So now we are done checking for empty string or stuff. So now we have to now convert. So we now do result will now be equals to convert dot to int 32. Okay, you can just do convert dot to int 32. This S1 plus convert dot to int 32, then S2, then S2. So here we will be converting, let's say okay, now we'll be converting this 4, which is string here, we'll be converting it to int. So we now have 4 as int, and then this string 5, we're converting it to int. So we now have 5 as what? As int. So it will now be 4 plus 5, which will now be equals to what? Equals to 9. So that is what we are doing here. So we'll be converting the string. You have to convert the string here to int so that we can be able to do the calculation. So we are converting the S1 to int, converting S2 to int. So we then add it and do the calculations, and then we will return this guy here. Return int. Return result. You know this result is in int format. And we have now our return type is string. So we return results, then convert it to string, back to string. Convert it back to string. So what we are doing here, we are creating int result to hold the final result that we want after doing the calculation, so that we can, I'm creating the int result so that we can be able to hold the calculations. So we can be able to do the calculations and hold the calculations as int, then return it and convert it back to string. So Then we check if S1 is not equals to null or S2 is not equals to null. If the two are null, it should return 0 automatically. But if they are not, if one is not null or the second one is not null, the two are not null, it should continue. Then we're also checking if S1 is not equal to empty, is not equals to empty string, because assuming this S1 is empty here, this conversion we are doing here will break because it won't see any content in it. It won't see anything inside it, so it will break. So that is what I'm using if statement to check. So if S1 is empty here, it should give assign 0 to S1, int in form of string. So S1 will now be equals, instead of S1 should be empty, S1 will now be equals to string 0. So assuming S22 is empty, instead of it to break at this particular time when we are trying to convert it back to int, it will not break. It will now assign S2 will now be equals to 0. So then we do the calculations and then we return the result and then convert it back to string again. So that is just what we are doing. So now let's test this. Let's run this on debug. Let's go and copy the code and run it on debug so that we can see. Okay, just have 4 5. So let's see. CW. So since the algorithm, the method is inside Kata 8, so we have to first call Kata 8. It's inside Kata 8 class. Kata 8 dot string sum. Then we do this. Just pass. Let's see. So we pass 4 and 5. The expected result should be string 9. So we pass string 4, then comma string 9. So the string 5, the expected result should be string 9. String 4, string 5, the expected result should be string 9. So let's now run this on debug, see how it will calculate it and then convert it from string to int, calculate it and some other things like that. So let's see. So now I'll be stepping into the method here. So now I'm inside the method. So here we have string s1 is equals to 4 and string s2 is what? String s2 is 5. So we will go step over, step over. So if string s1 is not equals to empty string and string s2 is not equals to empty string, if string s1 is not equals to empty string, or this is or this is logical or string s2 is not equals to empty string. It is or string empty is not equals to empty string. Sorry for calling it and, it is or. So it was a slip of tongue. So if string s1 is not equals to empty string or string s2 is not equals to empty string, it should enter. So I'm using this logical or because s1 might be empty but s2 is not empty. So that is why I'm using logical. If I'm using logical and, that means the two must not be empty. If one is empty and the second one is not empty, it will jump. The two must not be empty, the two must have content. But the all means one can be empty and one cannot be might not be empty. So that's just it. So if since the two are not empty here, see, it's not empty, true, it's not empty. So that is why we enter the if statement here. So if s1 is not is equals to empty string, that is what I'm doing here. So if s1 is equals to empty string, then it should assign string 0 to s1. But since it is not empty, it will jump the if statement. And then if s22 is empty, it should assign string 0 to s2. But since s2 is not empty, it will jump. Only if it is empty, that is when it will enter. So now is where we are doing the conversion. We have string here, string 4 and string 5. So we are converting them to int so that we can do the calculation. So the result will now hold the result of the calculation. So now result is now 9. So we can see this is 9 in int, not string. You can see the result is in int format. See, this is it here. This is it here. But s1 is in string format because it is in double quotes and double quotes. So we can see here type is what? Type is string, but result type is what? Is int. And we can see here that this converts, the first converts the S1, which is 4, is now int. Converted it from string to int, and the second one too, which is 5, S2, is now what? Is now int. So this thing here is converting the string to int. This guy here too is converting the string to, that is why we have convert dot to int 32. So you can see we've converted it, we've converted this, then we've done the calculation, which is 9. Then I'm now converting the result here on this line, the return result dot to string. I'm now converting it back to string again. You will see it, the result will now be what? You see, returned is now what? Is now string. You can see is now string. So I've returned it, so it's now string. Then so if I launch this now, you will see that the result is 9, which is this. The result is 9. The result is 9. So let's say, like I said earlier, assuming we didn't check for all this now, we didn't check if one is empty or one is not empty, then we now try to input an empty string here. You will see the code will break. You see, unhandled exception, system.format exception. Input string was not in a correct format. Was not in a correct format. That was why I used this if statement to check in case if it is empty. Since it is empty, if it is empty, I will now assign 0 value to it. So that is why I'm doing this. So I will assign 0 value to it. So if I run this now, you'll see it will not break. The answer will be 4. It won't break this time around. The answer will be 4. You see, the answer is 4. So let's test this now on debug. See, when one is empty and the other one is not empty. So we move if s1 is not equals to string dot empty, or string s2 is not equals to string dot empty. So one is empty, you see as one is empty. You can see s1 is not empty, but s2 is what? S2 is empty. You can see s2 is empty. You can see s2 is empty. So s2 is empty, but it enters because one is empty and one is not empty. Assuming the two are empty now, it will jump. So because one is empty and one is not empty, it enters. So now s1 is not equals to empty string. Is not equals to empty string, so it will jump. But s2 is equals to empty string. This is it here. It is empty. See, it is equals to empty string. So it will enter this if statement. You see, s2 is empty here. Once it enters this if statement, s2 will not be empty again. S2 will now be what? Will now be 0, string 0. So s2 is now string 0. So I'm not assigning string 0 to s2 because it is empty and we want to convert it to int. And if you do not assign that 0 to it, we won't be able to convert it to int. It will break. So now s2 is now what? Is now 0. So we will now do the calculation. You can see s2 is 0 now here. It's no more empty. It's no more empty. So we now do the calculation. The result will now be equals to 4. So which is 4 plus 0. 4 plus 0 will now be 4, and then return it. So that is just what we did. So that's the explanation on all these codes we've written now. So let's now take that to CodeWars to see, so that we can test it and see if we pass the test cases or not. Oh, my network is off. Sorry, my network is off. Yes, sure. Sorry, my network is off. Let me try connect back. Sorry, my network went off. So sorry about that. Coming. Yeah, so let me retry this now. Let me retry this. So, yep. So let me refresh. So sorry about that. So sorry about that. I didn't know my network was off. So let me test it now. So now you can see we passed all the test cases. We passed all the test cases. Everything is okay. Everything is okay. Everything is okay. So before we submit, like I said earlier, you can decide to use this, set this to this, and we can decide to use this string.empty. So now let me use string.empty here so we can see still the same thing. So let's still test that. To still work this, it's still the same thing. It's just so still the same thing. So you still pass all the test cases. So let's now attempt and see if there's still any other things we need to fix or not. So you see we passed all the test cases. So now we can submit our so now guys don't forget to subscribe to Dream Check YouTube channel. Don't forget to like this video. Don't forget to comment, share this video, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and then you can turn on the notification icon so that you can get notified anytime we upload new content. So guys, thank you. God bless you.